Well, hello, my friends, again. What can I say? The meeting went more or less well. At least they didn't fight between each other like it was almost the last time. I had some sort of the deja vu from the previous meeting in the Oval Office between Zelensky and Trump, but here it's the different story. And I streamed the event. I usually do it on my other channel. The link for it you may check out in the video description below. There I film absolutely different stuff. So yeah, Vance, Lito, Marco, Trump, Zelensky, Yermak, and Umerov, who used to be the defense minister of Ukraine, but now he joins the negotiation in Istanbul, so Russian-Ukrainian negotiations mostly dedicated to prisoners exchanges. Now I would like to say that some of the deal is reached here, that we're heading towards something, but actually no, we're walking in circles, mostly the same place. And unfortunately, Donald Trump still lives in some sort of the fairy tale that Putin is willing to make peace in Ukraine too. So he has his point of view. We need to make or organize meeting between Zelensky, Putin, and Trump. Trump, by the way, maybe he said that I don't want actually to join your meeting, but if you want me to join, I will be there. But honestly, I don't think that Putin might agree on that meeting, because for him, Zelensky, he's the leader, or it's better to say governor of Ukrainian oblast, because he doesn't see Ukraine as the sovereign state. So in his own eyes and in the eyes of other Russian elite or even Russians, he will not put himself down to that level. In his eyes, of course. We understand that actual Putin's level is close to the bottom because his actions are like that. But there were several of the good news in this meeting. Well, first of all, we have our spy in the White House. It looks like Melania Trump is really sincere with her letter to Putin. Then she called to release kidnapped children, and Zelensky used this story to give the letter from First Lady of Ukraine, Elena Zelensky, to Melania Trump. So he gave the letter to Trump. He said, it's not for you, it is for your wife, from my wife. Well, maybe it is just to say thank you, or maybe it's the new task for our spy. I'm just joking, guys. But Melania's Trump message to Putin is really outstanding. It shows concern, really. And I think Trump didn't lie when he said that after he speaks with Putin, he comes back home and Melania says to him, oh, Putin again strikes Ukraine, Kiev, and many other cities, so your positive talks with Putin doesn't really matter. Yes, no proofs for that, I cannot state by 100%, but the fact that she wrote the letter about Ukrainian children and this letter is given to Putin. What Putin did with this letter, probably you know, yeah, he doesn't really care, but this fact actually plays the great role, showing that probably she might be a convincing figure for Trump in the future. Not right now, because Trump listens more to Putin himself. In Alaska meeting, yeah, he took more Putin's side, actually forcing Ukraine to withdraw the troops from Donbass. I think they spoke about it today, but Zelensky and other European leaders presented today on a conference, they say no. And what is interesting, that at first with Zelensky, Donald Trump said that we are not speaking about ceasefire any longer, we are speaking about the wider deal. That was the proposal of Putin. Let's resolve the initial causes of the war. Let's not speak about the ceasefire, because Putin wants to continue the war, because he wants to get more ground. He has advantage on the front lines, and little by little Russian army scrolls more. Their aim is Pokrovsk, Konstantinovka, Mirnograd, and Kupiansk, at least for this year. But European partners and Zelensky, they insisted on ceasefire. There was the call for the ceasefire from Chancellor Merz and from Macron, even during this open conference. They tried to change the opinion of Donny, and Donny was like, okay, maybe there will be ceasefire, maybe not, but we need to end, like general words, that's it. Then I was listening to this conference, I felt like I'm at some sort of the birthday party where each one tells some sort of the toasts about the situation, yeah. And Trump, like a big parent, tells who says the next word. So it was kind of cringy at the same time. What is also understandable that they were speaking about security guarantees for Ukraine. They say NATO 5 article-like security guarantees, but even Article 5 doesn't guarantee any sort of the security, as we understand. If you didn't know, in Article 5, allies can provide any form of assistance they deem necessary to respond to a situation. This is an individual obligation on each ally, and each ally is responsible for determining what it deems necessary in particular circumstances. It is not necessarily military and depends on materials, resources of each country. So even NATO is not a guarantee. The only guarantee which I tell you about and continue to tell is a nuclear weaponry that Ukraine gave voluntarily to Russia as an exchange for Budapest Memorandum. So it was the biggest mistake done by Ukrainian politicians, and they agree on the pressure coming mostly from the United States of America. And now we have huge problem. And not necessarily military action means sending some of the ice creams to support soldiers during the hot summer time, like, for example. I think there will be some of the NATO countries who might do this step to protect allies, yeah? So the fifth article, really, if you read out the text, is not far away from the Budapest Memorandum. That's why yesterday Zelensky said that the only robust security guarantee for Ukraine is the Ukrainian army itself. So our allies, they need to support it. And we see just the support from the European allies. Donald Trump insists that they will just sell weapons to European partners, and European partners will support Ukraine with that, which is in fact limits Ukraine military capability. So there should be direct support from the United States. Without direct support from the United States, as it was before with the previous White House administration, Ukraine will lose, unfortunately, many more territories. European Union cannot purchase that scale of the weapon support, unfortunately. And also, by the way, Europe purchases more Russian, like it pays more to Russia purchasing Russian fossil fuels still compared to what they invest in Ukrainian military. As I continue to tell you, this war is kind of strange. And unfortunately, Ukraine suffers the most, judging on the Ukrainian resources. Yeah, Russia has more losses, but they also have more resources. And you know what he said about the prospect for Ukraine? We'll see in 2 weeks, he said, whether this deal is negotiable, whether they will agree, like Putin will agree, because Ukraine agrees on this meeting between Putin, Trump, and Zelensky. I don't think that Putin will not agree, but again, we heard about 2 weeks. 2 weeks on sanctions, 2 weeks on resolving something. And those 2 weeks or 24 hours, they last for a very, very long period of time. But luckily, during the meeting, Trump admitted that he thought that this war would be easy to resolve, which means that he underestimated this issue a lot from the very, very beginning. And you know, saying, I want to leave you, Putin, and you, Zelensky, to negotiate between each other, and I don't want really to join you, but if you want, yeah, I can be there. It tells that Trump is really losing his interest to it because he sees that he cannot win here, and it's the credo of Donald Trump. If you go for the deal, you should win. If you are not victorious, just leave it. Well, the positive news that Trump say that they will continue to sell weapons to the European Union countries no matter what. They earn on that, from what I understood. So at least there is the way out for Ukraine to obtain the military support. Yeah, not adequate to the current situation, but still the military support is out there. And what scares me that Macron say that Ukraine needs that military support now for years and decades ahead. So I think Macron understands the situation better than Donald Trump. At least Macron thinks that Putin is interested in continuation of the war. And I also think like that we are entering the stage of escalation. Russia still produces Shahid drones. There was the gap between their strikes on Ukrainian infrastructure by the time Putin was negotiating with Donald Trump, all of this meeting and everything. If you check my previous video, you'll see that Russia attacked several of the Ukrainian cities, and they plan more attacks because production of the Shahid drones continue, and they accumulated roughly 4,000 of the Shahid drones for the last couple of weeks, which is not a good sign at all. And Donald Trump is willing to call Putin after meeting. Probably he already spoke with Putin. By the way, Zelensky will give his interview to Fox News right after the meeting. It would be interesting to watch that one, but I already finished the stream, so I'm gonna update you in next video what he said there in interview. So to conclude everything what happened, Ukraine will not give up its territories. Ukraine will have European support. Ukraine will have even the support from the United States. I think they will provide intelligence and continue to sell weapons to Europe. One more good thing, there are talks about security guarantees for Ukraine, but in fact they do not matter that much compared to the military support. One more positivity, that Europeans continue to tell about ceasefire and they continue to press Donald Trump with this initial idea, because Donald Trump before said we need 30 days ceasefire, we need ceasefire, and it was the point of the conflict in the first meeting in Oval Office between Trump and Zelensky. Then Trump insisted on ceasefire and Zelensky called for security guarantees. And the good news that there is communication bypassing Donny with Melania, and Melania has the influence, so maybe she supports Ukraine, but I'm not 100% sure about it. However, the letter from her to Putin means a lot, on my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Speaking about negative things, Trump is still blinded by Putin's proposals. Trump has changed his rhetorics completely. He is no longer speaking about sanctions, no more pressure on Russia. Let's speak, talk, blah, blah, blah. And because of this position of Donald Trump, and everyone tries to dance around him because American support means a lot, that is why actually people like Zelensky, leaders of the countries who are in need of that support, they're forced to tell good things to Donald Trump and dance around, as I said to you already, which makes the total picture of those kind of the meetings kind of miserable. And yeah, there is no action, just blah, blah, blah. That's the biggest negativity, I would say, not even Donald Trump. And guys, you may judge the situation yourself, you may have your own personal opinion, but my opinion is like that. The meeting in general was better than I expected it to happen, luckily, but still without the real outcome. It means that Ukraine will have to defend itself, continue to defend, and I predict it will be for many years ahead, unfortunately. And guys, please check out my channel for more videos. For example, today I published the one from the front lines update. We have some good news. And also guys, thank you so much for your kind support on Patreon. With your help, I'm motivated to film more and more. So thank you so much. And now, as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.